Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
I love this saying, and I've had it on my program about maybe 8-9 months ago, but it's worthy of saying again this morning. It is the moderate's dilemma. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith. God bless America. Followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Come on now, dial the number. Wouldn't be the same without you. Good morning. August 1st. Oh, thank you, Kate. Thank you. Good morning and welcome to Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell, and with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, serving you. And, of course, some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call, get on the route service, 734-6969. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jerry. God bless you, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Right now, let's go to the weather forecast. I'm anxious to see what it's going to be towards the week's end. K&R Rental brings us the weather. Hello, Roger and the crew. And, of course, they're located at 256 South, 600 West of Heyburn, number 678-3122. Man, they open the doors early in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning till 5:30 p.m., Saturday 7 to 6. And don't forget that they've got all your tools and equipment, and they're a Honda engine dealer. All the parts you might need for your wheel lines. Yep, been in business since 79. They have the experience. K&R Rental in Heyburn. Right now, here's the weather.
It's going to be another warm day today, and expect highs in the 90s throughout the rest of the week. Today we're looking at sunny skies, high of 96. Winds out of the west 5 to 10 miles an hour. Tonight we're expecting clear skies with a low of 58. Tomorrow, sunny skies, high of 95. Looks like 93 for Thursday, the same for Friday. Tonight the sunset's going to be at 8:54 if you'd like to check that out. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Appreciate it, Gina. Thank you very much. And don't forget, I'll tell you, with all that's going on this summer to fix up, clean up, build up, they've got all the tools and equipment at K&R Rental. I've said everything from forklifts to lawnmowers. They've got it, I'll tell you. And don't forget, too, they've got the experience and the knowledge to help you get what you need at K&R Rental, 256 South, 600 West of Heyburn, number 678-3122. Don't forget that Thursday is sale day at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. Number to call for cattle consignments and sale information, 678-9411. Merv May, Cade Rocky, Lance Udy, the sale that works for you. Burley Livestock Sale Yard on Thursday, sale day, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. You get a hold of them today. And real quick, boy, I tell you what, I am fussy about my clothes. And always have been. And I want them just done a certain way. Well, that means I take everything into Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Oh, my. Did you know, if you don't, I'm going to tell you again, that if you don't have time to wash your clothes, dry your clothes, fold your clothes, iron your clothes, they will. They can, and it's all done. Done deal. Take them into Darrow's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. And dry cleaning, everything, washing and folding your clothes, they can help you with it all and save you a lot of time. Darrow's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. We have a very busy morning this morning. I'm very lucky to have the president and CEO of Americans United for Life, Catherine Glenn Foster. And she was over in the United Kingdom during the Charlie Gard case. You know, that horrible story about that little boy that they just let die. And then also we have Joshua Harmon with he's a safety and transportation analyst, and he's going to be talking about our roads and bridges, are they safe? And then, of course, at 10:06, Dr. History, and then a very, very interesting half hour at 10:30 with Dr. John Zamirik with The Stream. So don't miss any of it this morning. By the way, our friends over at Ramsey Heating and Electric, they got there early this morning at 7:30 in the morning at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. And it's going to be warm all week. I was looking at the projections on temperature, 92. 93, 92, 94, 95, 92. My goodness. And you want to stay cool. Well, make sure your air conditioner is working efficiently and stop in there and get the air conditioning filters. You can buy them by one or buy a case and get discount pricing. At Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. You stop in and see those great folks today. Really, really nice people. In just a moment, we're going to be talking about illegal aliens and the new push that's going out by the liberal left to stop you and I from saying those words. Yeah, we'll get to that in just a minute. You can already imagine what my response is going to be. Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, and the other location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Oh, my. Have you tried those delicious burgers? Oh, I mean, we're talking all kinds of delicious burgers, like the Bacon Gouda burger, and the Honey Jalapeno Bacon Sriracha burger, and the Slam burger, and the Bacon Avocado Cheeseburger. Oh, the Bourbon Bacon burger. Knock your boots off, delicious. All of those burgers at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner at 611 North Overland and Burley. Great service, great food. Denny's Restaurant. You stop in anytime, all the time at America's Diner. You know, it would appear to me that we are making more allowances, more conveniences, more of a welcome to the illegalities and illegals in our society than we are in protecting the United States citizens, your city, your county, your state, the whole United States. Now, the left came out yesterday, and they have deemed it, and I want your calls on this, because I'm not going to change. No matter how much pressure, I am not going to change. They have deemed that the words illegal alien are a racial slur. Now, let's talk about illegal alien. First of all, in the word illegal, what does it mean? It means that you have done something against the laws of the land. You have perpetrated a lawless attitude. You have done something that is not legal, so it is illegal. Alien means foreign to this country, not a citizen to this country, so it is proper terminology that when somebody comes into our country and they haven't followed the laws, they haven't gone through the proper procedures, yes, they are, and they will continue to be known as illegal aliens. How in the world can that be considered a racial slur? Nothing was meant or said or even perceived as racial in that terminology. And a slur? No, it's the truth. They are illegal aliens. On the program last night, Tucker Carlson and a couple of other shows I watched last night, they discussed this. And the same terminology is being used by our Department of Justice. That is in their written code, as a matter of fact. And they are going to continue naming, calling exactly what these people are. If they're here illegally and not citizens of this country, they are illegal aliens. Well, there was a left-wing nut on TV last night condemning the use of illegal aliens and said also we should let them stay here and not deport them. And my question to you this morning is why? Why do we have more concern for them, the illegal aliens in our society, than we do United States citizens? Why are we allowing the idiocy of sanctuary cities to pervade themselves as being a haven for these people over and above the taxpayers that are living in a legal lifestyle, getting up and going to work every day, pay their taxes, pay their bills, and those bills of all the others that do not pay? Call me. This upsets me a great deal. To think that we have a major portion of our population that is calling it a racial slur to call these people what they are, and then also this idiocy that's trying to pervade itself into our societies. Oh, no, don't deport them. Let them stay here. An open borders campaign. Your thoughts. Give me a call. Don't forget our Cassia County merchants. Boy, we've got a lot of them that are supporting the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo for this year. And I am turning my papers right now, trying to find exactly who I'm going to talk about. And I have them like Streamline Precision of Burley. Tim and the whole crew from Streamline Precision. Really, really thank you for all that you've done as far as if you're in the 4-H and the FFA. They encourage you to really even work harder. And also, Streamline Precision can build your steel buildings just the way you want them. Agricultural, industrial, and community buildings. They can do it all. Call Tim at 431-7314 or 678-9204. Streamline Precision of Burley. And then Butte Irrigation, 116 South, 600 West, Highway 27 in Paul. Oh, they are good, let me tell you. Listen up, they've got big per tower rebates from Zematic and huge discounts from Butte Irrigation. Make the fall the best time to buy new Zematic pivots. When it comes to irrigation, the only name you need to know is Butte Irrigation, because they will get you wet. Thank you very much. Come on, give me a gingle. A gingle? No, Zeb, it's a jingle. Give me a jingle, if you would, please. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for you to call, you can go ahead and give me a gingle. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, and the number to call, 678-1191. They can and will help you get back to being you. You know, had an accident, had surgery, or whatever, a sprain, a strain, whatever. I mean, just get in there and they can help you. They know all the exercises, and they've got the hydrotherapy pool, the only one of its kind in the area, and they've got the best of physical therapists right there helping you. They can help you get back to being you. All you have to do is call, make an appointment, 678-1191, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Really good people. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This is beyond the pale. The left is out to criticize Donald Trump and this administration over some of the most absolutely laughable, farcical things that you could ever find. Big headline in the paper this morning, quote, President made joke on police brutality. Press secretary defends Trump's remarks to officers. Wow. It got my interest, and so I did some checking. And here's what actually was done and said. Donald Trump said, please don't be too nice when he was talking to police officers in New York last week. Please don't be too nice. Like when you guys put somebody in the car and you're protecting their head, you know the way you put your hand over their head? He said you can take the hand away, okay? So the AP and everybody else on the left picked up on this remark like the president was encouraging police brutality, and that's the farthest thing from this statement. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. I think you're right on the money when you say illegal aliens are. You gave us a perfect definition of it. But what is the difference between these people they're bringing in at CSI? They're not illegal, are they? But nevertheless, it's a problem.
Well, okay, let's talk about that a little bit, Keith, and I'm glad you brought it up. No, they're not illegal. They have gone through a so-called procedure to be welcomed as refugees in this country. And at that point, I draw the line and say that I'm going to criticize that program as much as I do criticize illegal aliens. The reason I criticize it is because right now in this country, we have got an obligation to take care of our own people first, and secondarily be a babysitter to those that need to come here to this country for whatever reason. I do not believe that we are scrutinizing and checking these people the way they should be. I don't think the vetting process is really being used to the nth degree to know who these people are and why they're here. And I'm against both programs because it's kind of a demand. You will take them into your neighborhood community, and they have had already an impact on the changing of the personality of the community. That's my feelings. I stand by it.
Okay, I'm going to give you the definition of the two. $5,000. That is because an illegal alien, he doesn't get anything. He just sneaks in, and these other people are coming in without proper vetting and everything, and we're handing them $5,000.
Well, it's actually a lot more than that. We're providing housing, we're providing transportation, we're providing the schooling, we're providing them basically the living conditions at a kind of a carte blanche credit card basis. And when people say, well, it doesn't cost anything to the local people, that's not true, because quite frankly, it's costing all of the American taxpayers.
You know, that is a laughing situation because it does hurt. Because you take this plant down there in Twin Falls, which I think it's a great addition to our area, but it is strictly for the Arabs or whatever you want to call them. Middle Eastern people will be picked precedence over someone else hired there.
Well, you know, right now, though, Keith, it's not. But the owner had said in a speech in New York City, excuse me, I got a frog in my throat this morning, that he wanted to hire more, and he wanted to hire 300 more Muslims. I have that story here on my desk someplace. I can't, at every women call, try to find it, but I do have it. I'm not even going to criticize Chobani and the leadership of Chobani. I'm just going to say that I'm against right now a forced indoctrination, if you will, of refugees coming into certain parts of the country, because I've seen what happens in Detroit. I've seen what happens in Minneapolis. I've seen what happens in other parts of the country. And call me what you will, but I'm not in favor of it.
No, and this Minneapolis thing, that scares me and my family, because these people are just going to be like a giant snowball and just roll over the rest of it.
I just wish...
Stand there and let them do it.
Yeah, I just wish that our government and our thoughts would be with our elderly, would be with those that have had some really tough times, would be with the families of coal miners that absolutely suffered and were destitute and broke thanks to the Obama administration with the previous 8 years of idiocy. I just wish that we would show more compassion for the people that are residents, taxpayers, and citizens of our country first.
Why can't we put a moratorium on the amount of people who are brought into the country?
Well, I think there should be. And Frosty Woolridge on the program, we can't talk at the same time, Keith. Frosty Woolridge brought this up on my program many, many times, that there needs to be a cap. We are not a nation that can absorb and act like a sponge for everybody to come here, because environmentally, economically, we just can't handle that.
Well, we're taking it away from our people that have been here forever. We're citizens.
Yeah.
Let's just call them citizens.
Yeah.
And we're taking privilege away from them and giving them to the so-called unprivileged.
Well, Keith, I got to run, but I certainly appreciate your concepts this morning, because, as always, you bring up some good ideas, and thank you so much for your call. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Please forgive me for talking over you.
No. That's all right. It's just that it causes a real big echo, and we can't do that. So thank you.
When I call you, I just want to be with you. Okay.
Oh, gee, thanks. Okay. Don't forget Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center at 924 Christian Way in Rupert. The number to call, 436-3200. And they do make every effort to make Autumn Haven the best place. You know, they just want to let you know that for your loved one that might need that little extra help every day, they can help, and they will. And they invite the public to visit their facility anytime and check them out. Absolutely. They're the only locally owned and operated assisted living facility in the Mini-Cassia area. Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center, 924 Christian Way in Rupert. The number to call, 436-3200. And they are small compared to some, but with a bigger heart than most. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, give me a call. Hey, the big Jerome County Fair and Rodeo. My goodness sakes, August 2nd through the 5th, and they're going to have PRCA Rodeo August. Wait a minute, we got to check these dates out here a little bit. I've got to make sure everything is A-OK. It's all the way through the 10th. What did I put down the 5th for? I have no idea. I got to get that straightened out. And PRCA Rodeo, 8, 9, and 10 of August. And Tuesday on the 8th is going to be family night. 12 and under is free. Wednesday, August 9th, 4-H and FFA night. And, of course, they're going to be having on the 10th. It's going to be tough enough to wear pink night. Oh, my goodness, they're going to have the top cowboys coming in. And Jamie Rupert, the manager and secretary of the fair, says, come on over and enjoy all the fun and festivities of the Jerome County Fair and Rodeo. Man, it's going to be fantastic. They've got activities going on every day, all the way through the 12th of August, so don't you miss it. The Jerome County Fair and Rodeo, absolutely outstanding. I don't know why I wrote those dates down. I did that myself. That was my own error right there. There you go, Jerome County Fair and Rodeo. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I got to tell you, though, and this is not an excuse because I'm not in the business to make mistakes. Nobody is. But when you get all the fairs running almost at the same time with an overlap, or maybe starting here and finishing there, woo, it's a bookkeeping nightmare. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Here we go. We got another story about the flags. Man, did this get my blood pressure up. And this one happened in Connecticut. Some residents in Marlborough, Connecticut, say the American flags flying outside their homes have made them the target of hate mail. Well, I saw this story last evening, and I did some research on it this morning, and what happened was people who got the hate mail say they are disturbed by what they found in their mailbox, but it will not change the way they feel about their country. Can you imagine if this kind of a story would have taken place 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago? I guarantee you this would not have happened. But hate mail sent to people because they fly the United States flag? Well, a lady by the name of Ashley Myers said she is not afraid to show her patriotism. And she said that at her home, there are 12 flags on the bottom part of the home, 2 up on top on the second level, 1 in honor of her grandfather, the other in honor of other friends who have served our country. Well, she went to the mailbox on Sunday, and there were multiple pages of anti-American and anti-government flyers. And she said someone took all this time to send all this through the mail, and clearly they have no patriotism and are not proud of our country. And a guy by the name of Ken Hulstrom also received the same envelope, and he said, I am a very proud American. My son is a veteran with the Army National Guard, spent time in Iraq. My father was World War II veteran, and he added that the content of the mailer isn't just unpatriotic, it's also racist and anti-Semitic. You know, what's going on in this country about our flag, about our patriotism? Have you weakened because somebody has criticized you? I've had some people say, well, what's with this Pledge of Allegiance every day when you start your program? That gets a little old. And then I've had others say, what's with this Kate Smith, God bless America? Take it off. Well, I own this program. And with the ownership of this program, I pay all the bills. So to the naysayers that don't like Kate Smith and God bless America, or to the naysayers that want me to stop having the Pledge of Allegiance, don't let the door hit you in the butt on the way out. It ain't going to change. It's going to stay the same. We're going to call it like it is on this program regarding anything that's going on in this country. I've said it before. Some people took offense at it, which is fine. But if you don't like my program that is a pro-American program, broadcasting from America, the best country in the world, with the red, white, and blue fervor, you don't like that? Your options are simple. You can either continue listening, or you can take your thumb and your forefinger and turn the dial off. It's that simple. Because I can guarantee you, we're not going to change our ways on this program. Poor baby. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, give me a call. While I'm waiting for your call, some days I think some people just kind of nod off and sleep in. Give us a call, please. I want to talk to you about Berry Equipment and Rental. Sales, service, and parts. 3 locations, South Lincoln and Jerome, and, of course, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Every time I talk to Juan at the Burley location, he always stresses the fact that they have a great big sandbox out behind the business, and if you want to rent or buy one of those Bobcat excavators, they've got all the shapes and sizes. You can go out in the sandbox and just have a lot of fun learning how to run them. They have all the equipment to get the job done right. great. Equipment rentals, retail equipment sales. Oh, and they've got those Walker lawnmowers at 0% interest for 48 months. All of this and more at Berry Equipment and Rental in Jerome, Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. You stop in and see those really, really good folks today. Nice, nice people. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What in the world is going on with Debbie Wasserman Schultz? You know, I've never liked this lady. No. And I've never trusted her. And now this case of Imran Awan, he was Debbie Wasserman Schultz's mysterious Pakistani IT guy, you know? And there are allegations about bank fraud, money laundering, all kinds of ugly things about this Awan. And now, this is the kicker right here. On the back page of the story about Debbie Wasserman Schultz and this Awan, they're turning this story around now, they being Debbie Wasserman Schultz and the guy that is being looked at and trying to be arrested. They say, oh, the only reason he's being targeted is because he's a Muslim. No, the only reason he's being targeted is because he's a doggone crook, quite frankly. And Debbie Wasserman Schultz might be in a whole pot of hot water because of her threats to the Washington, D.C. Police Department for their investigation. You've seen the tape on TV. I mean, Debbie Wasserman Schultz is really kind of a snake. And she thinks she's above the law, and we're talking a lot of money here. We're talking about over $500,000 that was laundered and frauds for loans. And I'm glad that they're making this investigation. I'm glad they're going to check it out. And I think the Republicans should absolutely go after this like a junkyard dog. She's one of the big DNC people, always pointing fingers and saying, oh, people are less than her and less than the Democrats. Well, in this case, Republicans, for Pete's sakes, use your power and authority and clean the slate and go after Debbie Darlin and investigate her. It's your duty to your constituents. Good morning, caller. How are you?
I'm finer than a frog hair split 4 ways, buddy.
That's pretty minuscule. Okay.
It is. Pretty fine. Yeah, this deal with Debbie and her smashing the hard drives, smashing the hard drives and stuff like that, isn't that obstruction of justice?
Oh, you don't mean to say that Debbie Wasserman Schultz, a Democrat, would do something that would lead the search methods away from her, do you?
Well, and it just amazes me when the Democrats can do that, and I've seen and noticed on other channels zero coverage on this story.
I wonder why. Hey, and by the way, caller number 2, don't go away. Just sit there. I'll be right with you, I promise. But when you look at this and the transfer of the money, and we're talking, like I said, well over $250,000, and you look at the severity of this and the seriousness and the illegality of it, I honestly am pointing my fingers at the Republicans, Doug, and saying, go get her for Pete's sakes.
Yeah. I mean, you or I would have done something like that. We'd have been arrested, thrown in jail, and had to post bail.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But, seeing how she's a Democrat and she's one of the elite, it's just accusations. I mean, where is justice for all, as it states in the Pledge of Allegiance?
You know, wait a minute, though. Stop and back up. I said this earlier this morning. Wheels, watch the feedback a little bit on these calls. Is that we're more now inclined to go, oh, poor baby, to the illegal aliens and everybody else than we are the citizens of our country.
Yeah, you said that, and I agree with you 100% there. And we're about, and we're just the same with the crooked politicians.
Yeah.
Oh, baby, they didn't intend to do any illegal activities. Oh, baloney.
Oh, boy, am I glad you said baloney. Boy, the sweat on my brow got really thick there for a minute.
Well, my mother was starting to come out, and I held back.
Oh, well, yeah, but your mom, God bless her, I mean, my goodness, I know what she'd have said. But, you know, the funny part of this whole story about Debbie Wasserman Schultz, this guy, Juan, tried to flee the United States with a bunch of money, and then his wife tried to flee the country with a bunch of money, and she yanked the daughters they had out of school, and they had over $12,400 in cash in their pockets when they were stopped at the airport.
Yeah, but the mother made it out.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is they were questioning about the money and everything. I mean, my goodness, can't they see the money laundering and all the illegalities that might be there? This case needs to be investigated, is my point.
Exactly. And the FBI should be right on, Sessions should be right on top of this, and I mean on top of it.
Yeah.
In the middle of it, because I'll guarantee, well, I won't guarantee you, but my opinion and my gut feeling is guilty as charged.
You got it, buddy. Hey, listen, I've had that other call waiting. I want to be polite to everybody, and so I appreciate you, Doug. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
Hey, God bless everybody, and take care of your senior centers.
Absolutely. Thank you. Caller number 2, I'm going to ask you to stay there just a little bit longer because yours truly talks so much. I got to get my activities in as far as some of my commercials. Stay tuned. I'll be right with you. I want to say a big thank you to some of our merchants for Cassia County Fair and Rodeo. Dot Foods at 1541 West 27th Street in Burley. Oh, my goodness. Dot Foods, America's leading food redistributor. And I'll tell you what, they consolidate all their products and deliver and all over the 50 states of the United States of America. Absolutely a proud company right here in this area. Dot Foods in Burley. Wonderful people. Along with Golden Valley Warehouse, 468 West, 1000 South of Burley. And the owners and staff want to thank everybody for all their support for the many, many years and urge you to attend the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo. And they custom clean seed, by the way, too. You know that. Years of qualified certified seed at Golden Valley Warehouse, south of Burley. And Kelly's Bearing Supply, 1407 East Main Street in Burley. Oh, boy, you'll know where you're at when you get your bearings at Kelly's. See Zach and Brett and the whole crew, the bearing specialists at Kelly's Bearing Supply in Burley. Caller, you've been very patient. God bless you. Go ahead. You're on the air.
Just what is this with the Pledge of Allegiance every morning and Kate Smith with God Bless America? It's a love and an appreciation for a wonderful country. God bless and carry on.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. That made me, in a short sentence, feel very nice. Thank you. That was great. I appreciate it. I have opportunities in this country that I would have had nowhere else. And no one is going to diminish my love for this country, my love for the flag, and my absolute patriotism for those that have given all, their lives and the blood, sweat, and tears, to create an avenue for me to go to school, get an education, find an occupation in life that I loved, and pursue it to the nth degree. And if somebody is upset because I am a patriot that loves this country and loves the national anthem, loves the God Bless America and the Pledge of Allegiance, as I said, I really don't care. Turn the dial, listen to Barry Manilow. Thank you very much for that call. That was very, very nice. Thank you. Right now it's time for the weather. And, of course, the weather brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology. Did you know that Dr. Pickup offers communication skills classes and rehabilitation therapy that you can use at home? I mean, this lady is so sharp and knows all about sound and the various techniques, how to enhance sound for you. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. I urge you to call for an appointment today at 312-0800. 0957. Right across from the Minidoka Hospital Emergency Room, Mount Harrison Audiology. You be sure and give them a call today. Right now, they bring you the weather.
It's going to be another warm day today, and expect highs in the 90s throughout the rest of the week. Today we're looking at sunny skies, high of 96. Winds out of the west 5 to 10 miles an hour. Tonight we're expecting clear skies with a low of 58. Tomorrow, sunny skies, high of 95. Looks like 93 for Thursday, the same for Friday. Tonight the sunset's going to be at 8:54 if you'd like to check that out. That is your weather for Zebeth Rand.
Thank you, Gina. And, of course, brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, the only locally owned and independent hearing healthcare practice in southern Idaho. She is good. Let me tell you, she knows and she can help you. Dr. Christine Pickup at Mount Harrison Audiology, 312-0957. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, there was, at one time back before Obama was elected, and you probably remember this, I went through a lot of garbage with the Democrats here locally and throughout the state of Idaho. Because of my criticism of Obama, I didn't like the man. I didn't like his ideology. He was, and I think will go down as one of the worst presidents ever in the history of the United States. But I'm not going to weaken. They can make their threats. They can go and do all the little childish things they want to do to try to diminish me, my program, my advertisers, my sponsors, whatever they want to do. But I'm not going to weaken. I mean, they are looking at a losing proposition. Go ahead and fight. Go ahead and stammer like a little kid, rant and rave, throw your little tirade. But I'm not going to change. And I urge all the people in the audience not to change either. When somebody says, well, I'm offended by the American flag, you should turn around and say, well, then leave. Get a slow boat to China or whatever. But don't bother me with your negativity about this great, great country. Well, I'm offended by that Pledge of Allegiance. Great. Leave. And for those that want to change the national anthem, I really have to watch my verbiage on this because the cowboy comes out in me. That national anthem means so much when you read and study the words and the thoughts that were put into that national anthem. It means so much. And I've said this before on the program, I'll say it again. I've heard the national anthem probably more than most because of my occupation. And I still bubble up with tears and pride when I see that flag go up the flagpole to the singing and or playing of that national anthem. So I guess to those out there that are unhappy with it and want to see change and want to see everything destroyed that we stand for in this country, leave. Leave. Go someplace else. Please. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Also, there was a, these liberals, they put the train on the track, but then they run it off the rails. They just really aren't the smartest people in the world. There was a professor last night on TV, a female professor from Northeastern University. And she was all about setting and, legally trying to justify limits on our free speech. And I got to hand it to Tucker Carlson because he took this garbage for about 2 or 3 minutes. And then he asked her, and she didn't have an answer for this because, see, this is an easy question, and the stupidity of liberals shows through. He asked her, okay, you want to limit free speech. Who and how is going to make the decision of limiting speech? And she avoided that question 5 times. Is it going to be a panel, a review panel? Oh, Zeb Bell said this. Yep, we got to send him to speech prison for 6 months and a $10,000 fine? Or is it going to be somebody locally, somebody state that is the speech judge, jury, and executioner? And if somebody says something, they're going to send it up there, and you're going to have to go before the speech judge and deemed whether or not you can say anything for a year and have duct tape put over your mouth. This is the idiocy of the left. They are not real bright. There's a group called NRBs, not real brights. Because when they say, well, we got to limit free speech. No, we can't let these people on our campus. No, we got to, well, it would take too much protection. We'd have to have all these police and everything, because I'm sure if we had somebody coming here for free speech, we'd have riots. We're going to have more windows broken. And right there, the left is the one who's actually inciting the violence and the stupidity. Say what you want. And be responsible as adults and everything. I'm not saying everybody should just go up to somebody and call them. And I'm not advocating that type of thing. But I'm certainly also not advocating that we have somebody on the liberal left that says, oh, we got you. You're going to have to go before the speech judge. We got you. This is lunacy in the United States of America. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to talk about drones in just a minute and how serious they really are. Don't forget, get where you're going this summer with all the tires that you'd better check out at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh my, 7 locations serving you. And with the best of tires for your pickup, SUV, your cars, your camp trailers, horse trailers, boat trailers. Why, my goodness, they've got them all. And the main thing is they want you to get where you're going this summer and then get safely home. That's right. They also have the best in brake service and front-end alignments and shocks and struts and batteries. But above all, let's back up to that word, service. Yep, 7-letter word, but it means so much to them. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, good morning to you.
Well, good morning to you again. You know that my feelings have been hurt, and I'll tell you why. I have the privilege of sharing my birthday with Gina, but my wife, being not outdone by any means, she has her birthday on the eclipse. Now, what is fair about that?
Well, I tell you what, this eclipse, this story is a lot bigger than I anticipated. And when I hear some of the numbers of people that are going to be coming into the state of Idaho, especially over in the Chalice area, my goodness, we're talking about a major population shift for a couple of days to come in and watch the eclipse. I honestly didn't think it was that big a deal, but my goodness, it's taken over everything.
Well, yeah, and look, my wife's getting all the limelight on this, and I got nothing.
You know what? I'm glad. I am glad that she's in the limelight because she's a beautiful, very polite, very congenial person, and I think she should have the limelight for a long time.
I do too, really. I told her I was going to say that, and she said, no, you wouldn't. And I said, you watch and see.
Well, Nancy...
That is quite an event, though, for me on her birthday.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, if everybody brought in a little cupcake for Nancy on her birthday that's coming here for the eclipse, I guarantee you'd be swamped with cupcakes.
I need a bigger yard.
There you go, Keith. Hey, thanks for your call back. Thank you. All right, calls welcome, and I still have time for another one. 436-2244, 1-866-927. Did you hear that a United Airlines jet was on the glide path to the landing at Newark, New Jersey airport, and guess what got in its way? A drone. You know, I don't know why we're being so amenable to opening up the airwaves and opening up the potentiality of devastation and death and disaster with these drones getting in the way. I have said this before, and I'm going to say it again, that sooner or later, and I hope it's much later, a drone is going to cause a major catastrophe, and I just think it's going to be devastating. And as far as drones being protected over your property, you know, there was an article in the paper about what you can do and you can't do. And I made the statement that if I have a drone looming over my head on my property and scaring the bejeebers out of me or my wife, that drone may have a flying problem. Well, they're a protected species, but I'll still maintain not over my head. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We are going to take a little break right now. Then we're going to come back with a very, very interesting lady, Catherine Glenn Foster, and then at 9:30, Joshua Harmon. So we got a whole great big plate full of great people coming up. You stay tuned. Zeb at the Ranch on a Tuesday, August 1. Have a great day. Wheels, take it away. Oh my, good morning, and welcome back. Hour number 2, Zeb at the Ranch on August 1st, Tuesday, August 1st. Where did the year go, for heaven's sakes? We're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and of course some of our great advertisers, including Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Okay, let's review the checklist for our great big family reunion. Yeah, we got the table set for 100 people. We've got all the silverware. We've got all the plates. We've got all. Oh my goodness, we forgot to get the porta potties. Absolutely. If you're planning an event, you got to remember you got to have a potty for your party. Holy smokes, get a hold of them today. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. 734-6969. Yep, the best in portable restrooms, right there with the porta potties from Western Waste Services. Call today. Hey, we want to remind everybody about our friends over to Ark Animal Hospital. Hello, Dr. Bill. How you doing this morning and the rest of the staff? And Ark Animal Hospital is a mixed animal practice, meaning big or small, they love them all, and they take care of them. That's right. And, you know, whether you got dogs and kitty cats, oh, by the way, with the dogs, it's tick and flea season. Please watch out for the ticks, and the dog can also give them to you. Hey, you better check it out at Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street, near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. And the number to call, 678-1177. They do have the warm hearts for the cold noses. I love that. Minidoka County Fair and Rodeo is off and running, and I'm going to tell you what, they are having a ripping good time. Now, last night they started things off with the lawnmower races. Tonight they've got the Tiny Tot Gymkhana at 6 p.m. Tomorrow night, oh, and by the way, tonight also they got the great big concert featuring the Robbie Walden Band starting at 7 p.m. And then tomorrow night, Wednesday, the Antique Engine Show at noon, and then the Lions Big Barbecue tomorrow night at 5:30. And then ice cream and cobbler that's free after that. My goodness, a lot of fun going on every single day this week at the Minidoka County Fair and Rodeo. Remember, Country Pride countywide at your Minidoka County Fair and Rodeo. Right now, let's go to the phone line. I hope they've got the patience to stay with us after all that. Good morning to a lovely lady, Catherine Glenn Foster, President and CEO of Americans United for Life. Good morning, Catherine. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, Catherine, I guess the story we're going to talk about honestly evoked tears from me as I listened to it, and that's, of course, the Charlie Gard story over in Great Britain. And the struggle for his parents to try to do the best for their child, and then the involvement of the government and the courts. Bring us up to speed on this story, because you were there as it actually took place.
I was. So Chris and Connie, Charlie's parents, invited me over. Baby Charlie was, of course, the 11-month-old little boy with the mitochondrial illness, and that causes muscle weakness. There was a cutting-edge treatment available in the United States up in New York, and it was an oral treatment. It would have been given to Charlie through his milk. It has a 3-month regimen, and they figure out, is it going to work or not within those 3 months. And yet his parents, for months, for 7+ months of his life, were involved in this legal battle, trying to just be able to transfer him to New York, to get the medicine brought over to London, to have him take it there, to just get him this treatment and give him a chance. And yet, court decision after court decision went against them, all through the courts of England, to the European Court of Human Rights, which declined to hear the case. Then there was a rehearing, and again there was this shred of hope. And yet, what we found out was that in the months of court battles, and during that time, Charlie could have had this treatment twice over, more than twice over, and yet in that period of time, his muscles had atrophied to the point that the treatment couldn't work, because it's an oral treatment, but it works on muscle tissue, and the muscles had atrophied because he wasn't able to move. And so, in the end, there was no hope. There was no way that this treatment would have worked after all, because of these months of court battles fighting the parents and their desire to have him transferred.
Wait a minute.
So, in the end, Chris and Connie did one of the bravest things I've ever seen. They said, he's our son. We're going to claim our decision-making power. They said we withdraw our application to have him transferred, knowing that there was no hope, of course. And then you would think that would end it, and yet the hospital still continued to go back and was trying to prevent Chris and Connie from even taking Charlie home.
Catherine, my temper is, I'm going to have to bite my tongue a little bit, because my animosity and my hatred for those involved with the courts and the hospital, the legalities, the government, etc., is just teeming right now. My question to you is this: why were the courts involved? As a parent, if I had one of my children who are now grown adults, and they had a physical problem that was going to possibly impair them or take their life, I would go anywhere. I would do anything to make sure that I could do the utmost for my child. Why couldn't they? Why did the courts get involved in the first place and say, oh, no, you can't?
Absolutely. Well, of course, the system is different over there, and so it really is a court decision. And so this is something that the people of Great Britain are used to. But I would say that I've seen similar situations even here in the United States, where doctors will point to futility statutes and will say, well, care is futile, so we're going to stop treating. And so it really is. It's a global problem, and this is what happens when you have laws and when you have court rulings that are designed to promote death over life. And the really heartbreaking part of this to me is that the hospital, which was an institution specifically designed to combat child mortality because of the high child mortality rate a couple hundred years ago in England and London. And so they built this hospital. It was designed to care for the most vulnerable members of our society, for sick children. And Chris and Connie trusted this hospital. They took Charlie there. And they had no idea that this institution that they trusted, that they hired, was going to end up fighting them in court, and was eventually going to prevail. And and prevent them from getting that second opinion that I think we would all agree would be the right thing to do and would be just what any parent would do.
You know, Catherine, may I just say this, that in your statement just a moment ago you said the words, care is futile, we're going to stop the care. That what was said to the Charlie Gard's parents. Well, that's an opinion. And opinions in medicine, and that's why they call it medical practice, they're still practicing to get it right 100%. When you take a person or a group of doctors' opinions and they say that, is it because of finances? Is it because of some government control? Is it that we're trying to create and promote a hemlock society at birth and then also for our seniors? I'm really worried about this.
It's definitely something that we need to be concerned about. You know, we see this with so many of the laws, even in our own country. And again, these institutions created to care, created to heal, and just to do everything that they can to restore a person to health. When they come against you, when the institutions of your country come against you, it can leave you feeling just helpless. And that was the expression on the final day of court. When Connie was there, she knew that there was no hope even that she would be able to take her son home to die there, that in fact he was going to be taken to a hospice. And at this point, I think understandably, I don't think she would want anything to do with any kind of hospital or anything. She just wanted to be able to take her son home, give him a bath, lay him in the crib that he never got a chance to lay in because he was diagnosed with this illness at 1 month old, and so he never got a chance even to lay in his crib.
Oh.
And so when you saw her face, she just had this look of heartbreak, of devastation, of just disbelief that that this was happening.
You know, Catherine, I'm sitting here and I'm having to fight back tears right now because I'm a father, I'm a grandfather, and to think that courts and government can rule who lives and who dies and by what methods can be used or not used to save their life. I got to admit right now I've got clenched fists. I'm just absolutely upset about this situation. The government and people are going to create a live and die society.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. As soon as you have an outsider placing a value on human life and determining whose life is worth fighting for and whose isn't. And we're talking about institutions here. It's not even the family saying, okay, well, you know, maybe it might be time to let someone go. We don't know. But we're talking about an institution, about a court. And the judge is not a doctor. I'm not a doctor either. But there were doctors around the world, specialists in their profession, leading doctors in this field who were saying, yes, there's a chance.
Oh,
and what we learned, based on Connie's statement and the medical records, is that if Charlie had been given this chance months ago when his parents first asked for it, if he had been given this chance even as late as April, he would have had a very, very good chance of recovering fully or nearly fully, being able to potentially walk, talk, ride a bike. All of these were doors that would have opened to him. And instead, waiting for his chance, waiting for his treatment in that hospital bed, time slipped away.
Well, Catherine, was it a matter of finances? Was it a matter of paying the bill? Was it a matter that the family couldn't pay the bill? They didn't have the money? What about that aspect of the story?
Yeah, it definitely was none of those things, because initially, again, they asked for this treatment, and the hospital said, sure, we'll do that, but you have to raise the money for it. So Chris and Connie went out, this young couple. It's their first child, and they're just precious people. They have such passionate, fierce love for their son, and they raised $1.7 million for his care. On top of that, hospitals around the world offered free care. Companies around the world offering free medical transport. And, of course, that's expensive when you have a child on a ventilator. But companies were offering free medical transport, saying, you know, we don't want any credit. We just want to make sure that Charlie gets where he needs to go and gets there safely. And so money was not a factor here. We're not talking about a sort of an NHS government funding, taxpayer funding situation. He could have had his care completely covered, no taxpayer funding, and the hospital simply said no.
Well, Catherine, I go back to what we started the conversation with. Why? Why would the government, why would the courts stop a family if it wasn't in anything to do with finances that the government would have to stand behind or anything, and the finances were there, and the welcome mat was rolled out by other people in other countries to fly him here, fly him there? Why would the government step in front and say, no, let your child die? I still don't have a good answer for that.
You know, I don't think we ever really can. It's been suggested that it might be because doctors were concerned that Charlie was in pain, but based on examination by other doctors, world-leading experts again, they said that there's no evidence of that. Certainly, the doctors at the hospital in London didn't think that the treatment would work, but doctors around the world, the doctors who developed the treatment, said, yes, there is a chance, and in fact, a good chance. A 90 to 100% chance that the medication, the treatment, would cross the blood-brain barrier, which means it gets where it needs to go to be able to start working and have a chance to work. That there was an 11 to 56% chance of very significant muscle improvement. And remember, this illness, it impacts the muscles and muscle strength. And they said a minimum 10% chance that there would be very significant overall recovery. And the doctor from New York, he said this is a very, very conservative estimate because this disease is so rare. And he didn't want to overstate the chances. But he said at least 10% and probably far higher. But let's say it is 10%. Let's say there's a 10% chance that your child could survive, could thrive. Wouldn't you as a parent take that chance?
Let me ask this. What about the mother and the father? I mean, they must be heartbroken. Their spirits must be broken. Their family is broken. What about them?
They are doing as you would imagine, just heartbroken. I told you about the expression on Connie's face as I was walking out of the courtroom. Her dad was there with his arm around her, just trying to console her. Chris, of course, was back in the hospital with Charlie, not wanting him to be left alone. You just saw this picture of a family being forced apart in physical space, if certainly not in desire and love and what really counts, but just being forced to be in different locations, and it's been tragic for them. This has been incredibly hard.
Let me ask you, your organization, Americans United for Life, there's the key words right there. When you see something like this come down as an edict, regardless of whether it's over in the United Kingdom or whether it was over in Russia or China or even here in the United States, this to me is a big step in the wrong direction for more degrading of the sanctity of life. Do you think I'm wrong?
No, you absolutely are right. That's spot on what we're looking at here. And again, this is what happens when you have laws that promote death over life, when you have court rulings promoting death over life. And that's why our organization works with legislators, with courts, to promote life, to help legislators pass laws that will protect life, to make sure that that they have the right language in there, so that it does make sure that everyone is welcomed in life and protected in law and gets their chance.
Is there anything that we can do, the general population, to offer best and absolute sympathy in regards to this family? I mean, it just seems like such a hollow story ending for these poor parents and the entirety of their family and the struggle that they're going to go through. And also, is this disease or the problem that Charlie had, will this be a syndrome possibly that could show up in the possibility of future children that family may try to have?
Yes, sadly, it is that kind of disease, and there's a very significant chance that if Chris and Connie have any more children, that there's a very significant chance that their future child could have this very same, very tragic illness. So you can imagine how that must weigh on them as well. But yeah, when you were in the courtroom and you saw the family and just there were times when literally the family was sobbing, and even court employees were coming down to offer tissues. There was one really dear security guard there at the court who patted Chris on the back just in solidarity, and you could see how he felt for Chris, and how considerate the court staff were of this family, making sure that they got in the court, got very close to the best seats, and could just be together and comfort each other. But knowing the risk in the future must weigh very, very heavily on them.
You know, Catherine, I certainly hope you'll take my extension of coming back on this program, and you will always treat this program as a friend to you and your cause with American United for Life. Thank you so much, Catherine Glenn Foster, for sharing this story. It really hit me between the eyes to hear you and your remarks this morning. God bless you, and God's blessings to the family. Thank you so much for telling us the real story.
Thank you, and I would also encourage your listeners to both pray, of course, and please tweet and on social media use the hashtag Charlie's Legacy, and that would be a great way to get in touch with the family. In addition to the other hashtags that have been used, Charlie Guard and Charlie's Site, and I am Charlie Guard.
All right, thank you again, Catherine Glenn Foster, President and CEO of Americans United for Life. Thank you. God bless. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Wow. There are stories, excuse me, there are stories that I have on my program that really hit me between the eyes. This one is so sad and so gut-wrenching to think that courts, government, they are going to decide on a live or die situation for your children. Now, you might say, well, that happened over in England, or it could have happened over in Switzerland or China, anywhere else. Well, that's ways away from here. Sure it is. But think about it if it happened to you and it was your child. I can't even fathom how I would react, what I would do, what I would say. I'm just absolutely at a loss for words over this story because of the inhumanity of a court system and or government saying, I don't care, we're going to let your child die. How would you react? Thank you very much to Catherine Glenn Foster. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to also say a big thank you to all of the Cassia County merchants that are promoting and, of course, advocating that you go to the 2017 Cassia County Fair and Rodeo. Man, they're going to have a good time. And we also want to acknowledge Streamline Precision at 120 South, 100 West of Burley. You know, they give a big shout-out to the firemen, the policemen, and all the 4-H'ers and the FFA. They just really are proud to be a part of Cassia County. Streamline Precision at 120 South, 100 West of Burley. Number to call 678-9204. Along with Magic Valley Irrigation, 44 East, 500 South of Burley. Jeff and the whole crew at Magic Valley Irrigation, they say thank you to the farmers and ranchers for all they do to provide the food for us to eat. And don't forget, Magic Valley Irrigation offering irrigation system service and repair since 1978. Also, we want to mention more of our great folks, Cassia County supporters, and that's AMI 719 Overland and Burley. Look for the big 28-foot wrench over the door. You'll go nuts over their bolts. They're the meat and potatoes, nothing fancy, and they say good luck to all the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo participants from AMI in Burley. Really, really nice people. Talking about nice people, that always leads us right to the discussion about Joel Heward, the manager of Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. And this definitely is a family place because they live there, their family, their staff are always there to serve you with flexible hours to be available when you need them. When there's the passing of a loved one, they are there, always upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Well, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of things that can happen in a family situation when there's the passing of a loved one, and you need to know that there's help there to help you get through all the rough spots and dot all the I's and cross all the T's and take care of your family. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. The number to call, 436-5636. We're going to have our next guest with us in just a few moments, and we're going to talk about the infrastructure of the United States of America, our roads, bridges, etc. And we have a gentleman with us by the name of Joshua Harmon in just a moment. Don't forget, let's ride. Oh, baby. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the world where the fun is sold. And I mean that. You open the front door of their facility, step into the showroom, and you're going to go, holy cow, how did they get all this in here? They've got all the watercraft. They've got all the four-wheelers. They've got all the side-by-sides. They've got it all right there at 270 Highway 24. And believe me, a super, super accessory department, all you need. And if something you need fixed, they've got a service department second to none. So remember, let's ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the world. It's true. It's where the fun is sold. Also want to remind you, over in that same neck of the woods on Highway 24, Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, and a lot more. Especially service to you, your family, and your business. They are dedicated and responsive to your needs. All you have to do is simply pick up the telephone, dial the number, make an appointment. 436-4424. 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Right now, we're going to go to our next guest for the program this morning, and we welcome on the air Joshua Harmon, and he is a safety and transportation analyst. Good morning, Joshua. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine. How's everybody this morning?
Well, I got a question for you. You are one of the nation's leading voices in highway and transportation safety, and with that being said, how bad or how good is the infrastructure now in the United States?
Well, I'd say it definitely needs some of our attention. There's issues with bridges. There's issues with the guardrail. There's issues all the way around.
Now, when you say that there's issues, a lot of the bridges and a lot of the guardrails and a lot of the road system has been there for decades with not that much maintenance. So how do we know what's safe and what isn't?
Well, until we evaluate that, we don't. But we do know that it's aging, and if it's not given, critiqued and looked over, it's like in my situation, it was just, ignored, totally ignored. And no one, monitored it. No one, evaluated whether, how it's performing. And that's concerning. And the accountability of the FHWA just is non-existent.
Well, now, Joshua, you mentioned your situation, and I think that opens the door for the discussion on a case that you personally were involved in. Why don't you bring us up to speed on that, and then I'll form questions after I hear your story.
What this is referenced in regards to is it's the end of the guardrail. It's not the guardrail itself. The guardrail, it serves its purpose, along the highways to keep errant vehicles within the boundaries.
But this is at the end of the guardrail when you're driving down the interstate. It's the rectangle head with the black and yellow stripes. There's multiple different variations of this terminal, but the one we're referring to is called the ET Plus. What happened was it was out there for years. The first, iteration was the ET 2000, and then they introduced the ET Plus. The product worked flawlessly, and that's by the testimony of Texas A&M engineers. It had no issues, had no indications of any failures. But then the company, the exclusive license holder, which was Trinity Industries, that manufactured this exclusively for the Texas A&M, changed the product, never notifying the government or anybody else as far as that goes, even their own marketing people. And when they did these changes, they pretty much built it in to be weaker. The welds were done differently. The components were changed. One component was a 5-inch C channel, and the other they changed it to a 4-inch C channel, which is 20 times weaker. Everybody says, well, it's just 1 inch. What you don't realize when you're dealing with C channels is exponentially changes the strength factor. So when they did all these changes, they built in to where we were getting a reusable terminal. It was marketed as reusable. The governments did reuse it over and over and over. But when they did these changes, they effectively fixed it where they sold a new terminal, a new guardrail end in every accident at the cost of the taxpayers, both financially and physically. You know, the damages was, loss of life and limb. People literally lost their legs when the guardrail would go through the car, or their life. And this never happened before.
Now, these guardrails, was the structure as far as how they were built, how they were inserted in the ground, etc., did that change over the years?
No, the actual way that they're installed is the same. This end cap is literally just put on the end of the guardrail with a couple of bolts. And when they changed the internal dimensions and the actual procedure in welding that particular component, they never tested it to see if it was safer. They just did these changes and never notified the government of these changes. And that, in turn, that's how the fraud was perpetrated on the taxpayers.
Well, now, Joshua, tell us the part of the story as to how you got involved in this, and also with Trinity as far as a lawsuit is concerned.
Well, in the beginning, through a course of events, I found out that what they had done. I went to the government. They said, no, they've never disclosed it. And I created what was called a presentation and give it to the government. The government turned around and sent it to Trinity. And what happened then was they sued me personally, trying to they claimed I was slandering them and et cetera. I was a whistleblower, and they couldn't do anything with the message, so they wanted to destroy me. This recently, where Trump signed in these laws protecting whistleblowers, is so critical and needed. This company here sued me personally. They tried to destroy my credibility in the industry. They did everything they could to deflate the message that I was trying to, present.
So basically, had you not stepped forward, a very inferior product that would not absorb the accident damage and was killing people, hurting people, that would have gone on, and had it not been for your whistleblowing, a lot more people would have been injured. Is that correct?
Absolutely. The entire industry recognizes what I'd done. The impalements, they were keep increasing. They were going more and more every year. The industry started recognizing the impalements and the failures was increasing. No one understood why. And once I did this, the states, once the judgment and the verdict was rendered or delivered, then the states started banning them, and the impalements started going back down. Now there's still 200,000 of these things on the highways. But what's happened is the more accident-prone sites have been replaced with products that work. And that's why the impalements are going down. Not every one of these are hit every year, but the more accident-prone sites that are hit literally every few months, we all see them driving down the road where something is the alignment or whatever is continually hit. those were replaced with products that actually function, and this product was removed off the highway.
Josh, let me ask you this. Were there threats to you? Were there very negative phone calls to you? Were there letters of threats? I mean, how did they go about letting you know that they were going to come after you and your business?
Oh, I had hate email. I mean, I could go on and on threats. I had mysterious phone calls. I had all that. All that was, and it's like the schoolyard bully. If you let the schoolyard bully run amok, he's going to continue. I just ignored it and continued down the path and did what I thought was right. That was my goal. I knew people were dying. Loved ones were, entire families was being shattered, destroyed. And I knew if I didn't stand up and continue with this fight, it could easily be my own family. And that was my motivation.
Let me ask you this, and this is a speculative type question, Josh. Would you say that with the older bridges, the older roads, the older putting up of things for society to use in our infrastructure, and now a lot of it is outdated and rusting apart, would you say that there is more of a chance of having whistleblowers be kind of ostracized from our society if they say something because of the high cost of replacement?
Exactly. That's the reason these laws that Trump signed into effect. I haven't dove into them in depth, but I believe they protect all industries, not just the VA. But people who seize these issues that because of cost is never a legitimate reason not to correct a safety problem. We spend millions, and this is back to the FHWA. We spend millions on cosmetic enhancements. People don't realize, you drive down the road and you see the sculpture on concrete. Yes, it's pretty to look at. But that money that was spent on that should have been spent rebuilding a bridge that you're driving across. And they're not, regulating, and they're not policing the resources they have. And they're wasting it on so many different projects that has no bearing while we have serious issues in our infrastructure. And the FHWA they really don't care. They're looking for that minute of glory, or look what a beautiful project, knowing the street straight across from it is completely unsafe and it needs a serious evaluation and attack the problem.
Joshua, how do we, the public, and you really piqued my interest on this because we have two very old, very high bridges that go across the Snake River Canyon right here in my area. And we're talking 400 or 500 feet high. What do we do? Who do we complain to? How do we make sure that our voices are going to be heard and not just shuffled off into file 13? What do we do?
Absolutely get a hold of your representatives. The representatives, it's a well-oiled machine, and if it's put the pressure in the correct places, things will happen. And with the purse strings being controlled by the federal government, and then the FHWA controls the purse strings to the state, then they can control what projects are addressed. And safety projects should be first. The FHWA, they really, the administrator, the current head is not understanding that we have a serious safety issues at hand, and someone needs to take responsibility, accountability, and take the resources that we are giving the FHWA and police them and utilize them in an appropriate manner.
Joshua, in your opinion, when you started studying the infrastructure, the guardrails, bridges, roads, etc., again, this is a speculation question, but have we waited too long? Have we waited generation after generation and not done anything and just took the word of officials, oh, the bridge is fine, oh, the road's fine, oh, the guardrail's fine? Have we waited too long to try to fix this?
No, it's never too long. We need to it needs immediate attention, but it's something we got to act fast, and someone needs to be put in that position. Currently I don't think the position's been filled, but somebody needs to be put in there that understands the seriousness of what we're facing as a nation. We're all a team. We all travel these roads together, and they all have to be evaluated, and a program has to be put in place.
I'll tell you what, you really piqued my interest on this subject, and I say thank you very much for being on our program this morning. One of the nation's leading voices in highway and transportation safety, and that is Joshua Harmon. Thank you so much for being on our program, and I hope I'll keep your name and number and have you back in the future. Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to voice our voice.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Wow, it makes you think, doesn't it, about, and I hate bridges. I'm going to tell you something right now you probably don't know about me. I do not like bridges. You will never see me out on a bridge on a walkway taking pictures down below. When I go across a bridge, I do not care how long the bridge is or how short. You will see me exceeding the speed limit. Yes, you will. I'm telling you that right up front. And if there's officers out there, well, we're going to park our car across that bridge, we're going to nail zip, go ahead. I will gladly pay the fine. I don't like bridges. I'm scared of bridges. And when you hear stories about our infrastructure failing, and about how many of these bridges have been up for decades and decades and decades, kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? Well, we're going to do the weather forecast. I know. You're going, you big chicken, you don't like bridges. No, I don't like bridges. I don't like anything to do with them. There was a bridge that goes across the Columbia over by Hood River. And it's one of those see-through bridges with a very small railing on the side. And let me just tell you, yours truly froze in the middle of that bridge, pulling a horse trailer and a dually across there a couple of years ago. Woo-hoo-hoo. Don't like bridges. Weather brought to you this hour by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. CPAs providing accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area for well over 50 years. The best of tax return preparation, tax planning, financial statement preparation, payroll services, retirement planning, and so much more. 2 locations, Burley and Rupert, and believe me, they can and will help you. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And right now, here's the weather.
It's going to be another warm day today and expect highs in the 90s throughout the rest of the week. Today we're looking at sunny skies, high of 96. Winds out of the west 5 to 10 miles an hour. Tonight we're expecting clear skies with a low of 58. Tomorrow, sunny skies, high of 95. Looks like 93 for Thursday, the same for Friday. Tonight the sunset's going to be at 8:54 if you'd like to check that out. That is your weather for Zebeth Durant.
Thank you, Gina, and brought to you by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. As I said, they've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area for well over 50 years, and they can really help you, your family, and your business. Please get a hold of them today with locations in Burley and Rupert. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Nope, don't make any bones about it. You can talk to my wife. She's ready. She's got the seatbelt tightened up and her head against the headrest. When I go across the bridge, I'm going across that bridge. Get out of the way. I don't want anything to do with bridges. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. We'll talk about anything you want for the remainder excuse me, of this hour. I apologize for the frog in my throat. With all the smoke out there, I'm sure I'm not the only one that's having this problem. And especially this time of the year, bear with me, please. I'd appreciate it. All right, give us a call. While I'm waiting for your call, I want to talk about the Jerome County Fair and Rodeo. My. They're going to have a junior rodeo at 4 o'clock on August 5th. My goodness, yes, they're looking forward to having all kinds of activity over there. That's going to be in the Depew Arena right there at the Jerome County Fairgrounds. And then the big PRCA Rodeo August 8, 9, and 10 at 7:30 each evening. Top cowboys from all over the circuit systems of the Wilderness Circuit, Columbia River, Montana, California, and Turquoise. Absolutely outstanding. Along with so much more going on, carnivals and all the exhibits. And I'm telling you, they just really know how to have fun over at the Jerome County Fair and Rodeo. A lot of the activities starting, of course, with the cat show. They're going to have a big cat show on August 2nd and going all the way up till August 12th. Jerome County Fair and Rodeo for 2017. All right, come on. Somebody give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We'd love to talk to you, so give me a jingle. What else is going on in the news this morning? And I'm just trying to think. With all the fairs going on, we have a caller. God bless you. I am saved. Good morning. You're on the air.
And I bless you, too.
Okay, thank you.
You know, is big always better? I think about this with our big box stores and that, and you think about Amazon, who said they're going to hire 50,000 people, and Walmart is going to fire all these people. What's that going to have an effect on Burley, Idaho?
Well, of course, I don't deal in speculation. You know that, Keith. I just deal in the facts. And you said, is big always better? Well, no, big isn't always better. But I will say this, and maybe you won't agree with me. I have worked with some of the bigs, and they have been very, very helpful on various projects to aid and assist certain projects in this area that have benefited youth groups, senior citizens, etc. So am I going to condemn the bigs? No, I'm not going to do it, because they've been very helpful in many situations.
Well, let me just give you one for instance. I have a friend of mine who purchased a TV for his family for Christmas, and he bought it at a big box store right here in Burley, and he took it home and it did not work. He takes it back and they said, well, we can send it in. Well, he went down to a local store who sold the same product, and the price was about the same, and they took care of him in every respect.
Oh, I agree.
Is big better, or where do we draw the line?
Yeah, but see, I'm not going to draw any lines. I'm not going to be that. I'm going to tell you straight up that I've always advocated shopping locally. I've always advocated taking care of the merchants in your hometown area, because you're always going to them and asking them for support for Little League Baseball, the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, etc. So I always advocate shopping locally, but I'm also saying I'm not going to condemn the big box stores, like you said, because they too have done a lot of good in the community, and they have personally helped me with a lot of projects that, quite frankly, also aid and abet my lunch bunch and other activities. So I'm not going to condemn anybody from any shape or form.
You know, I guess we need both, but it seems like it's like a steamroller with this online shopping and the great big stores and everything that attract everybody. People don't realize they're going to wake up one day and they're not going to have any retail stores.
Well, I always believe.
Twin Falls or somewhere, but that's what we need.
Yeah. I appreciate your points, and I think that you and I are pretty close on agreement, but I'm not going to condemn anybody because I've had help from both sides of the aisle. Thank you, Keith. God bless you. I got another call calling in. Thank you.
You bet.
All right. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Hey, Mr. Zeb Bell.
Yes, sir.
When's the last time you crossed Hanson Bridge?
I can't hear you. You're on a speakerphone. Turn the
I'm on speakerphone. You cross the Hanson Bridge, you will see they're taking very good care of that bridge of infrastructure.
Okay, fine. What's your point? I'm glad they're fixing it up.
Well, I'm bringing it up, but they do take care of our infrastructure, and so I'm glad to see that.
Well,
I cross that thing 2 or 3 times a week.
But I don't like bridges, and you're not going to change my mind. I've been scared of bridges since I was a little kid.
I'm not scared of your bridges. I don't care about bridges, but I'm saying the state and people do care about it, so they take care of the infrastructure.
Well, I am tickled to death they do, but the point we had Joshua on the program, Joshua Harmon, is that in a lot of areas and a lot of states they are not. They're sloughing off their duties.
So, but I'm saying they take care of ours, I think, here locally.
Well, Nobody said anything different, sir.
Okay, well, I'm telling you, I've noticed it, and I'm very pleased with our area.
All right. Well, who are you, by the way, and do you represent anybody with the state?
Yeah, me. I represent me because I cross that bridge 3 or 4 times a week.
Well, and I represent myself, and I'm scared of bridges, and I want to make sure that they're maintained. Thank you.
So do I.
All right.
I'm not scared of bridges, but I see that they are taken care of.
All right, sir.
To let you know that somebody is taking care of them, I think, in our area.
I appreciate your call as always. Thank you very much. Adios. Well, now, I don't think we condemned anybody locally, but I will say this, and I'm going to maintain this. A lot of times, big money. A lot of times, big organizations. And a lot of time, government. Because of the decades and decades that certain infrastructure has been there, they don't want to spend the money on replacement or repair. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Mr. Zeb Bell, how are you?
I'm peachy.
Good. Hey, I just want to comment on your fear for crossing bridges. When I was a young man, probably 8 to 12, my dad used to drive across a Hanson Bridge, and we called it the swinging bridge. And if the wind was blowing, he would let us get out and walk across that bridge. And loved every minute of it.
Well, I guess you're tougher than I am, because I'll guarantee you, when I look down, I've got acrophobia. I don't care for the heights. I don't care for bridges. And I'll tell you what, if my family lived on one side of the bridge and I had to get to them from the other side, I'm going to send them a letter, because I ain't crossing it.
Well, that was when that bridge was a trestle bridge.
Well, I tell you what, I appreciate your call. I've heard others talk about that, and I thank you for your call this morning. Thank you very much, but I'm not going to change my feeling about bridges. Thank you. All right, buddy. Thank you. Thank you. Don't forget Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center at 924 Christian Way in Rupert. The number to call, 436-3200. The only locally owned and operated assisted living facility in the Mini-Cassia area. And believe me, they provide one-on-one care, and they really take care of their residents. They invite you to come by and visit the facility anytime, and they make every effort to make Autumn Haven the best place. Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center, 924 Christian Way in Rupert. The number to call, 436-3200. They're small compared to some, but with a bigger heart than most. Right now, we're going to take off and go to the news with Wheels over at the controls, and be back in just a few minutes with Dr. History. God bless you. Have a good day. Stay tuned. Morning, and we have been graced. Deanne ran out to the back door, laid down the red carpet, and Dr. History walked in, and he'll be going in just a moment. Stand by. By the way, on Thursdays, we have another segment that is on our program called Cassia County School Days, brought to you by A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley, and Ambulatory Surgery Center in Burley. Don't forget the new, can you believe it, Doctor, the new fall clothes are already out, and believe me, they've got all the games, the toys, the furniture for the babies, everything at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley. And don't forget, too, Ambulatory Surgery Center for your outpatient surgeries, colonoscopies, cataract surgery, knee surgeries, all of this and so much more, and they want to save you money. Call them today at 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center and A Child's World, bringing you school days in Cassia County. Right now, it is time for my buddy. He walked in the door and says, good morning, and that means that Dr. History's here. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Zeb.
How are you?
I'm great.
You know, you and I have talked many, many times on this program about, and we might as well tell the audience, we were talking about it a little bit before we started this morning, about how speech and speech mannerisms and the eloquency of speech has changed from the Old West till today.
I don't know that we could understand them if we were all of a sudden placed back there 150 years ago.
I agree.
It would be different.
It would be a lot different. But you also have some local stories for this
I do.
week. I'd like to hear about this.
Okay, this is a guy by the name of Thomas Gray, and I showed you this picture.
Yeah, he looks like, he could sit right there on the hills today. He's got a pair of chaps on, and he's ready to go to work.
He looks like he could just fit right in, and he was born in 1877 over here in Albion.
Oh.
So not very far from where we're at. So, folks, right here, not too far from the Snake River where we're at, is where he was born. And this is taken from his stories, so I give quite a bit of credibility to the story here. You always ask me how accurate are the stories, and I think this one is pretty much right on.
Okay.
So I got a couple of stories here. Early in the 1890s, hundreds of horses were trailed out of Oregon and California through this country headed for the eastern market. Now, the outfits would often lose horses from the herds, and these animals would then be left to kind of run wild on the range, just like with cows. They'd lose a few cows as they went along sometimes. But when the local ranches were gathering their herds, they would sometimes keep one or two of these strays if they didn't recognize the brand.
Yeah.
So they just put them into their herd.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a guy named Frank Ross, and he ran a bunch of horses on a place called Three Creek. Do you know where that is? It's around here somewhere.
What's the name of the creek?
Three Creek. Three?
Oh, Three Creek's out at Rogerson.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's where he was, and he branded with the number 3 on the left jaw of his horses.
Really?
Okay. So he had an old pet horse named Billy that did not carry his brand or any other brand from this country. It had an unfamiliar brand, in other words.
On the jaw?
Yeah, and I had never heard of that, branding on the jaw. Okay. Anyway, Billy was on the range, and he got farther south than the rest of Ross's horses. There's a group of men, a family called the O'Neills. Well, they were out rounding up their herd, and they came across Billy.
Now, I wonder if that is the family that O'Neill Basin was named after.
I'll bet it is.
Yeah.
Because it was right here. But anyway, they knew all the brands that belonged in this country, and seeing the brand on Billy, figured he'd been lost by a trail outfit and decided to take him on home. They had him at the ranch for some time. Well, Frank Ross, that was his kind of a favorite horse. And he began wondering what happened to old Billy and asking around, and he found a man who'd been by the O'Neills and said he had seen the horse there. Well, Frank got his Winchester. Stepped on his horse and went over to see the O'Neills.
Went to see them.
Anyway, it was late in the evening when he got there. One of the ranch hands had been mowing hay with Billy all day and had just driven in for the night. He had a Bronco hitched in with old Billy. That didn't sit too good with Frank.
I bet he was a little bit upset.
Yeah. So Frank told the O'Neills, he says Billy was his horse and he'd come after him. They told Frank that if it was his horse, he was welcome to take him. But they figured since it was so late, Frank might as well stay the night and eat. And
they invited him in to eat?
Yeah. And keep in mind, Frank was not there on too good of a mood.
With a Winchester in his hand.
So anyway, Frank said he was mad when he went over there, and even madder when he saw the man come in from working his old pet horse alongside a Bronco. But he was treated so good. He could not say anything that night, and when Frank got ready to go the next morning, he told Jim O'Neill, he said it was all right this time to have one of his horses, but he said if it ever happened again, somebody might get killed.
So wait a minute, let's set the story here correctly. He was invited to stay the night.
Right.
He was fed supper and breakfast, and then when he departed, he says, "I'm going to come back and kill you if you take another one of my horses."
And he got his horse back.
Right.
So anyway, Jim O'Neill said, and that wasn't the end of it. Jim O'Neill said, "Well, Mr. Ross, if things around here don't look just right to you, maybe we better pull that shooting scrap off before you leave this morning."
So, wait a minute. What happened to all the good citizenry here? Yeah.
Well, and this guy says, "I remember hearing Frank telling my father and some of the neighbors he saw that he had started something that was perfectly agreeable, so he took his horses and left."
I see.
Wisely so. So anyway, speaking of trail outfits, and again, this is coming from this guy, coming through early in the 1890s, 2 kids were out riding one day and ran onto 2 strays. He says, we couldn't recognize the brands, so took them home for our father to look them over. He said he didn't know the brands and that we could keep the horses, but never to sell or trade them, as someone might come looking for them. No one ever did claim them, and they lived on the ranch until the day they died. Well, one is a gentle bay saddle horse branded with a D on the left shoulder.
Left shoulder.
Now, that's more common.
Yeah. Or the left hip.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the bay was named Snipe. Okay, I think everybody had a horse named Snipe, didn't they?
You know, they either had one named that, Snipe or Snip, and then they always had a horse named Cowboy.
That's right.
Yep.
Well, anyway, he says after we rode old Snipe a while, we could tell he had been trained to run and would still do so for short distances.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, lots of cowboys used to come to our house, and they would sometimes have horses they could run. They would get to talking about races to us, and we would tell them we had an old saddle horse. We would run against theirs for about 200 yards.
Uh-huh.
They would call us on it, and as the horses came up to the scorer, which I guess was the starter, and the judge, and he hollered, go, Snipe was gone in a flash. He would get out about 2 jump start on the other horses, and they could not catch him in the short races. We would sometimes win $5 from the cowboys.
There you go, a whole $5.
Now, he says most of the cowboys never caught on that he was a trained racehorse.
I see.
So, anyway, now, going to go on to another little story about this Thomas Gray. He says in the 1890s, this country had a lot of cowboys willing to spend all their money to look fancy.
Now, he's about 13 years old then, right? He was born in 1877.
Yep, just a young kid.
Yeah.
And, when we've talked about this, the cowboys, they like to dress pretty fancy sometimes.
Yeah, they were a little flamboyant. Yeah.
So they had silver-mounted spurs with conchos on them.
Some things never change.
And sometimes, now, a concho is, of course, the rowel or no, wait a minute.
No, it's on the spur strap.
That's right. It's on the spur strap.
It's on the spur strap.
And sometimes they even had what they call catchers on the shank to hook the spurs in the cinch when the horse was bucking.
Yeah.
So that was just kind of a little lip type thing, right?
Yeah. And then, of course, they always had the jingle bobs.
Yes, we're going to talk about that.
Yep.
Anyway, there's a guy named Frank Hubbs who was often called the silver-mounted cowboy because he was very fond of silver mountings on his saddle, his bridle, a bit, spurs, even his six-shooter was silver-mounted, and as were his suspenders.
Suspenders?
Silver-mounted suspenders.
Huh.
He may have looked fancy, but that would not have carried him for too long. He was also a darn good cowboy. He was an expert roper who seldom missed, and he caught what he aimed for, and he could throw his 65-foot riata full length and catch any animal. Now, riata is a leather lariat, leather rope, braided.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he was good, besides looking good. So when I'm on the golf course, I look good, but I don't do good.
I was just going to mention that to you.
Anyway.
Now, a little bit of that might be all brag and not fact.
Well, anyway, let's get back to Frank.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, many a time he says, I've seen 15 to 20 cow horses tied to the hitching rack in town. The cowboys would walk along Main Street with their chaps and their spurs on. The spurs would jingle and jangle as they hit the board sidewalks.
Yep.
And the spurs they wore had long chains hooked on them and rattled in the stirrups.
And they always used to say they're going to go to town, so they had to put their spurs in the town hole. Did you ever hear that phrase?
I never heard that phrase.
That means dropping them down a little lower on the boot so that they would rake along on the boardwalks.
Well, they were definitely a sight to behold, I'm sure.
They were.
So anyway, the cowboys in southern Idaho rode what they call center-fired saddles, some with tapaderos.
Yep.
Now, a tapadero is kind of a leather covering
of the stirrup.
Yep. And some of them would hang down 24 to 28 inches.
Yeah,
halfway to the ground.
My dad had a set of tapaderos back in Wisconsin, and they're really good if you're riding in a lot of brush and everything, but they're heavy, and they can hurt your ankles being in the stirrups.
But I guess on the positive side, they protect your feet, your boots.
Yeah.
So anyway, they carried long rawhide ropes that I mentioned called riatas and dallied around their saddle horns. The cowboys' boots were the brand Buckingham and Heck. Have you heard of that? Buckingham and Heck.
That terminology?
Boots. Yeah, the
that
brand.
Must have been an
or was
old...
that a type of a boot?
I don't know. I think it was probably the company that built or made the boots. I don't know.
I need to check on that. Anyway,
I got to stop you right there. That always amazed me in the Old West. Did you ever think about how never were there boot sizes or boots sized back then like they are now? I mean, you basically had to ram your foot into one. If it fit anywhere close, you were going to take it.
Yeah. Now, however, if you had enough money to have one custom made,
there you go.
Then you were okay.
Yeah.
And anyway, he would be seen. He wouldn't be seen without a vest and a silk handkerchief tied around his neck.
Big bandana.
Anyway, there's an old guy named Pete Myers, an old Texas trail driver, and he helped drive 2,000 head of cattle to Cheyenne, Wyoming in 1887. After that trip, he, like most of the cowboys, looked for a chance to spend his earnings for the year and have some fun. So generally, they managed to spend every dime they made and had to go on the company grub line for the winter. Now, Pete decided to go to Kansas City, Kansas to see what it had to offer. When he came back, he had an overcoat with him. Some of the cowboys got to looking at it, and they said, "This is a pretty fine coat, isn't it, Pete?" Pete looked them straight in the eye and replied, "Heck, it ought to be fine. Cost me $1,700.
Heck? Yeah, I bet.
Cost me $1,700.
$1,700?
Yeah. You wouldn't spend that today on anyway.
I am a cheap person.
I am too. Timex watches.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, so now in 1895, the shoe sole, which you've heard of,
right over here,
trailed a herd of cattle to American Falls, which, folks, for us is just about 70 miles east of where we are right now.
Yep.
And they shipped them to the Eastern market. And there were lots of cowboys in this town, and some people had come in from the east. One group of Easterners had a band with them, and the band was off to one side when one or two of the cowboys strolled over to listen to the music. Now, the Easterners soon let the cowboys know that they were not welcome. That's not something you do, Zeb. That didn't set too well with them, so they got their heads together and went back over. Now, walking over to the band, one or two of the cowboys pulled out their six-shooters and started shooting. And then they said to the band, "Play you," and then it's just a blank, "play."
Well, Doctor,
there's not even a word there.
I'm sure that you could fill in the blanks.
No, I'm not going to.
They didn't shoot the instruments.
No, they just shot in the air. The band told them they certainly would.
They changed their personality.
If they would stop shooting.
Yeah.
So the band not only played, but the Easterners took the cowboys down to the saloon, buying them all the whiskey they could drink. They decided that, maybe these guys ought to be our friends.
You think?
Yeah. So anyway, the majority of cowboys are good-hearted and not hard to get along with if you know how to take them. And when a poor widow or an orphan child needed help, you could always count on the cowboys to throw in. He says, "I have sat on the sidewalk in town among the cowboys in bygone days when some little boy or girl, not too well dressed, would come strolling by. The cowboys would run their hands down in their pockets, pull out 25 or 50 cents and hand it to the child, and soon the little one would have a whole handful of money. They would talk and joke with the child a little, and then let him go away feeling rich."
And
that's
go.
That's
nice.
That's the cowboy.
Yep.
It really is. That's spirit.
And that's still in a lot of cases the way it is.
It is. It really is. Yep. Now a cowboy's worst enemy is, and you know this, Zeb, a badger. And most cowboys would say they hated a badger even worse than they hated a rattlesnake.
Yeah.
Badger holes have caused many cowboys to suffer some very bad falls, ruined many a good horse for life.
Right. That's right.
And horses raised on the range where badger holes are abundant will look out for the holes. And, I've ridden and you've ridden, and, the horses they're kind of watching,
Yep.
When you're going at a gallop, they're kind of watching out for you.
It's a wreck looking for a place to happen.
Yeah. Anyway, when this is the case, the cowboy usually stands a better chance leaving the side, stepping to the horse, let him do it.
Yep.
And it used to be nothing to see a cowboy down off his horse, holding his six-shooter out, pointed at a badger hole, waiting to shoot the head off that little menace of the range.
Little menace of the range. I'm not sure
that's not that little.
I'm not sure that's the correct verbiage right there.
Well, it says menace here, Zeb, and it's in parentheses, so that must have been what they said.
I'm sure.
I'm sure they called them menaces.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's kind of some stories about southern Idaho right through here where we live.
You know, it would be interesting to go back and do some stories on the UC, the big ranch that took over this area right here of Magic Valley.
Yeah.
And with all the horses that were raised for the government and all the cattle and everything.
Yeah, this used to be a huge, this whole Magic Valley was a huge ranch area.
Yeah.
Thousands and thousands of head of cattle.
And then all the stories about the old town of Rock Creek.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've got some about Rock Creek that I could tell about.
What about this guy, the book about this guy? Whatever happened to him? How long did he live, et cetera? Does it say?
You know, I'm not sure how long he actually lived.
Does it give any information about his demise or whatever? He was born in 1877.
Yeah, actually he talks about the winter of 1916 to 17.
Wow.
So he must have got up there a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I just thought I'd ask.
Yeah. But anyway, I like this book because I think it's pretty accurate as to how they talked and what they saw and what life was really like for the cowboys right in, well, not just here, but all over the West.
Now, he was born up in Albion.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let's see. I'm trying to think. 1877. How does that equate to the gentleman? All of a sudden,
Diamond Field Jack?
Diamond Field Jack, yes.
Oh, he was later.
He was later.
Yeah, that was more, because he didn't die until like 1949.
Didn't he die in a car accident down in Las Vegas?
Hit by a taxi.
Hit by a taxi or something.
Yeah, after evading being hung several times, being shot at, being a multimillionaire, and he died poor.
He had a lot of money at one time.
Oh, millions.
Yeah.
He had mines down in Nevada that made him millions of dollars.
Really?
And he lost it all.
That's kind of the same as your story, isn't it?
I've invested in some things that didn't turn out so good.
You know, really, when you talk about the history of this area with the river, the Snake River, and the crossing of the river, and, the getting crossed on the Oregon Trail to cross the canyon and everything, man, oh man, those people were tough.
They were.
And they were very inventive.
They were.
Very inventive.
Now, I don't know if you saw the Times newspaper last Sunday. They had quite a few articles about like Rock Creek and the City of Rocks.
Yes.
And actually they had the story I told about Chief Joseph in there. And for you people that are, you're considered underprivileged unless you have bought my CD. And
boy, there's a plug.
Yeah, and listen to my stories as you travel from Burley through Declo, Albion,
Where do they get your
City
CD?
of Rocks, over to Oakland, back to Burley. You can get them at the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, I'm plugging for you.
I appreciate it because I only need to sell 700 more to break even. And you can get them at the Cassia Museum, and actually they are up to at Tracy's store in Almo. That's the oldest store still functioning, I think, in Idaho.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was like 1897 or anyway. And the Tracy's, if you read that article, they've tried to bring back some of the old look for the Tracy store. You got to stop in there. Anybody that goes past there,
you know
in
what
Almo.
we ought to do? We ought to ask this. We ought to put this out in front of the public that if you or you know of any family members that had ties to certain events here in the Magic Valley or the state of Idaho in years gone by, they ought to try to get a hold of us and give us the information.
Yeah.
We'd love to have it on the
Just
program.
go to my webpage, and on comments, you can just put your name and your story there on comments, and I'll email you back. I always do.
Good.
So, yep. Just drhistory.com. Go on there, and under comments, it'll come to me. And
we've talked about this briefly in other circumstances, but when you go into an old Western cafe, an old restaurant or whatever, you never really knew too much about the environment or how sanitary or how hygienic it was or wasn't.
The food was always good. I remember going up in Shoshone, and there was an old one up there we used to go in, and there was one old one in Oakley. There used to be there, and there was an old one in Declo. Yeah. They just had an atmosphere they just don't get anymore.
Atmosphere.
That's the
word
story
you're going to stick with.
I'm sticking by my story.
But really, you often wondered about how the meat or the food or whatever was taken care of. And
I always figured if the locals were in there and they were still alive, you were probably okay.
Oh, that's a good advertisement. They're still alive. Let's eat it. Yeah. But, food in the old days, I mean, man, that was just kind of hard to put together in a group and serve. And
Well, in Europe, of course, in England, it was a daily thing. The wives would go every day to the market and buy fresh, killed, because you didn't have refrigeration. So you had, every day, they would go to the market and get their fruits, their vegetables, their meat.
Yeah.
So, and I think they probably had to do that here as much as possible, but I think a lot of it was pork or salted,
and a lot of them had cast iron stomachs, too.
They would have to.
Doctor, you did it again. Great program this morning. We're out of time already.
I know, it's great. Because I'm out of story.
What are we going to talk about next week?
That's a good question.
That's why I asked.
I know.
Thank you. Dr. History, one of my dear friends on Zeb at the Ranch. Doc, thank you so much. I got to do a quick commercial, and then we'll send it back over to Wheels for a little bit. Want to remind everybody about our Cassia County merchants that say, come on to the Cassia County Fair for 2017, including Pickett Equipment Company at 976 East Main in Burley. Boy, I tell you what, this company from the 1970s till today, my goodness, they're shipping equipment all over the United States and the world. For more information about Pickett Equipment Company and their excellent bean equipment, Steve and the crew at Pickett Equipment, 678-2855. And the Goodie Shop at 133 East Main in Burley, 647-0106. Need I say more? The Goodie Shop. Delicious goodies for everybody. Cookies, brownies, sandwiches, you name it, they have it. Shelley and all the gals do a great job at the Goodie Shop. And last but not least, let's not forget Streamline Precision at 120 South 100 West of Burley. They really can build any and all of the steel buildings you want just the way you want them. For agricultural, industrial, and community use, they can do the job. You call my buddy Tim at 431-7314 or 678-9204. Streamline Precision. Really good folks. Right now, we're going to send it back over to our main studios. We'll be back in just a matter of a few minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, thank you. As we're in our last half hour of the program this morning, and, whenever I have this gentleman on the air, he really provides thought-provoking writings with the stream, and I say a good morning to John Zemerick with an article we're going to talk about entitled, Why God, Guns, and Grunt Work Go Together, Socialism Smothers Them All. Holy smokes, that got me to thinking. Good morning, John Zemerick. How are you?
Good morning. I think I wanted to draw some connections that are there for the seeing, but people don't always make the connections. Why is it that in virtually every country that has socialist, large socialist welfare system, cradle-to-grave insurance, kind of socialist nanny state, why is there a low or even a negative birth rate with more people dying than being born every year? Why are guns illegal in all those societies? Why have all those societies eliminated the death penalty, but they all have legal abortion and most of them have euthanasia? What is the connection? I mean, why is it that that well-meaning Christians will promote socialism and gun control and open borders to replace all the kids that aren't being born, and they don't see the connections among these things? And so what I did was try to draw them. What socialism does, and this is something that several popes of the Catholic Church early in the 20th century, right up through John Paul II, said, socialism takes the place of God. It makes the state into a god. It tries to undo the results of the fall of man. It tries to cushion us from any negative effects, any economic choices we make. You can't lose it's almost impossible to lose your job in France no matter what you do unless you walk around shooting people or call for restrictions on immigration. In Germany, you can live on unemployment for years and years and years. What does that do to the human soul? I would argue that it, first of all, takes away the need to pray. If you're never going to face a financial crisis in your life,
There's no chance that you're going to lose your apartment because it's a government apartment. No chance you're going to lose your income because it's a guaranteed income from the state. That's one of the main things people pray about, is they pray for help in moments of difficulty. Now, that goes back to the book of Genesis, where man has to toil the sweat of his brow to make a living because he is fallen. We die because we're fallen. We have the death penalty because we are fallen, and if we take a human life, the Old Testament says, and even the New Testament says, you should lose your life if you've taken a life. War, even shortage, the idea that goods are scarce and we don't have everything we need, well, that's a result of the fall.
Yeah.
When a socialist government tries to take away every piece of evidence that man has fallen, it's also taking away the urge towards redemption, to find Christ. And that, I think, is why those churches are dying in every country that has a socialist system. These things are connected. If you take away the evidence of the fall, or you hide the evidence of the fall, because someone is paying those bills, right? Someone's paying for people who aren't working. Somebody else is paying for it in taxes, but you're hiding it from them. So by hiding the effects of original sin, you are helping lull people into a secular utopia where they don't need God, they don't care whether they have children or not, they don't care about the future, they don't think about their ancestors. In other words, I've just described Western Europe, the European Union.
Absolutely. You know, as you're talking and I read your piece that you had written, I looked at it and I said to myself, underneath a socialistic society, the incentives are gone. The drives are gone. In other words, meaning the drive to further your talents that God gave you to be and try to be something special. And you're looking at basically a dying society to where there's no hope. Let's just fall in lockstep for the time that we have here on earth, and then somebody throw dirt in my face. I mean, it's an absolutely negative society.
Right. And society, imagine this. Imagine if, in order to lose weight, instead of you dieting and exercising, right? Imagine if the whole society had to diet and exercise, and then everybody would lose their average percentage of the weight. Okay, so you're dependent on everybody else also dieting and exercising. If they don't, you won't lose any weight. How healthy do you think people would get if there were no direct consequence to their actions on their own body, but instead it just went into this great fitness pool, and they got the average weight loss that everybody else had earned?
Yeah, your analogies are absolutely spot on. And we're seeing the encroachment of this cancer. I'm going to call it a cancer because that's what I think it is. Trying to become an organism bigger in this country to do away with capitalism and do away with this human spirit of furthering with free enterprise. It's happening here, John. You can see it.
Oh, absolutely. And they're not calling it socialism most of the time. They're talking about people have rights. You have a right to health care. Really? Do I have a right to travel to Switzerland to a clinic, to a special clinic? Do I have a right to a personal fitness coach to come to my house? Is that a fundamental human right? That would advance my health. You know, it would advance my health if I had a personal trainer. So if the government doesn't hire me a personal trainer, it's killing me. That's the kind of argument that's being made.
One of the things that you wrote about, you had under the headline, Socialism Hides the Fall of Man. And this really hit home to me the way you had written this out with the banning of guns and the smothering the free market in a tangle of restrictions and the forbidding of capital punishment, marginalized religion. Every single category that you wrote about we're seeing happen here. And I think the naivete and the gullibility of America, we're letting it go.
Yeah, we are, because it's being the frogs are in the water, and the heat is being raised 5 degrees, 5 degrees, 5 degrees. So we have to look at the places where the frogs are boiling. Places like England, where Charlie Gard's parents were told, even though they could afford this long shot treatment, they weren't allowed to try it because the state knows better what's good for their children. And remember, there was no question that treatment was going to be painful, or that it was going to do the child any harm. At the very worst, it would have done nothing at all. but the court said, the court cited the doctors who said it would harm the child because it might keep him alive longer, and he's handicapped. So you got right there the state deciding whether or not your children live or die based on this utilitarian calculation of whether or not they're going to be happy in the eyes of the government.
Yeah, but John,
the doctors who work for the government.
John, let me interrupt you right there and make a point. I had a lady on earlier this morning, Catherine Glenn Foster, that was there with the family and everything, and she is with the Americans United for Life. And I broke down and started crying on the air because I can't accept a society. I can't accept a government that will make a ruling that they're going to be the judge, jury, and executioner of a person's child. I would do anything, and I mean that, legal or illegal, to protect the lives of my children. And if the government is at that state to where they can dictate who lives and who dies, we, as humanity, are in a lot of trouble.
Well, you know, one of the reasons they got away with that in England is they don't have a Second Amendment. If let's say the city of Houston, or it wouldn't happen, but imagine some nut job in the state of Texas trying to do this. I'm telling you, armed citizens would show up and they would have gotten that kid out of the hospital and put him on a plane, and that would have been the right thing to do.
Yep, I agree.
But in England, everybody's disarmed. They're like a bunch of timorous veal calves. They live in fear of rabid Muslim immigrants, radical Islamists who bully them, shove them aside on the street, threaten them, yell at them for walking their dogs. It's like so many countries in the European Union, it's like they've been defeated and occupied.
Yes.
And how ironic it is that it's the Germans who are driving the European Union, trying to take away sovereignty from all the countries they invaded just like 60 years ago and occupied. So it's really staggering, and sometimes I wonder which side won World War II. Because you've got a European Union dominated by Germany imposing abortion and euthanasia and flooding their cities with young men who hate Jews and Christianity. Instead of Nazis, they're Muslims, but they have a lot of the same views are being imposed on Europe now that were imposed in the 1940s. But it's being done under the rubric of multiculturalism and welcoming refugees. And weirdly, these refugees always seem to be young men of military age.
You know, and John, over the last 8 years with the Obama administration, we were led right up to the cliff by the Obama administration and Obama personally using Europe as a model of how he wanted us, the United States, to turn into, or regress in my words, and the American public didn't say anything against it. They just didn't understand.
Right. Well, our elite want to turn the U.S. into something like the European Union, with cradle-to-grave socialist insurance, population control, open borders, no guns, no capital punishment, gay privileges, restrictions on free speech, restrictions on the churches neutered and turned into sort of nodding, idiot, grinning chaplains, waving and smiling as society is de-Christianized. I mean, there are all across Europe, they are tearing down historic churches and building mosques. One of the leading causes of death in Belgium and the Netherlands is euthanasia. Think about that.
Wow.
On that issue, Hitler won the war.
Your last paragraph in this piece, it hit me right between the eyes, and it was so well written, I want to read that for the audience. Societies that follow the socialist fantasy and sever the bond between hard work and financial success cut a lot of the other ties at the same time. They snip the bonds between parents and children, our ancestors and our descendants, and between God and man. Socialism doesn't just destroy the economy, it dissolves the nation and empties the cradle. It takes the place of God as the omnipotent, competent, benevolent refuge in our hour of need. It is the Church of the Golden Calf. John, that was extremely good.
Thank you. That essay means a lot to me. It brings together what I've been thinking on a wide range of issues into one place. A lot of people think that people like you and me are against socialism because we're greedy capitalists and we just want more money and we don't care about the poor and we're not really Christians. No, we reject socialism because it is a replacement for Christianity. Pope Leo XIII called it a scheme of diabolical wickedness to replace Christianity with the government. And of course, when the devil's trying to sell you something and win you away from Christianity, he's going to offer you something that looks nice. He's not going to tell you it's going to lead to poverty like in Venezuela, or tyranny like in North Korea, or highest suicide rates in the world like in Sweden, or negative birth rates as in most of Europe. He's not going to tell you your grandchildren, if you have any, will live under Sharia law. He's going to show you cute pictures of little refugee kids. How can you not welcome them and their 14 relatives, by the way, into your country?
Yeah.
That's how the devil works. He appears as an angel of light.
There you go.
Christ is a counterfeit Christ. He looks like Christ. He's like a kind of NutraSweet version of Christ. Tastes the same, but with none of the calories.
You know, very aptly put. And we have a caller with a question for you, John, before I run out of time. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air quickly, please.
Well, quickly, Marx or Lenin said the keystone to communism is, socialized medicine. And so Obamacare being shoved down our throat, of course, was no accident. But now that it's here, it's like a tick under your skin. You can't get rid of it. And so the thing of it is it's a terrible thing, but we're such a splintered, distracted society when we used to be, father knows best. We used to, the fathers of our country used to be respected. Now they're just they're shown to be idiots. And so I jokingly say this, where we got our foot clear to the floor, we're driving down the road at 100, we're headed for the Canyon Rim, and we're texting. We don't even look up. And I don't know what kind of a crisis it's going to take for us to wake up, because the older generation knows better, but our children, I don't know. And our grandchildren, I don't know. I worry for what they will be able to do. I'll hang up.
He brought up some really good points, John. Please respond.
Yeah, I worry too. I don't have any kids, and some days, sad to say, I'm kind of glad I don't, because I don't have any hostages for the Obamas and the Clintons to experiment on in the future. But I hope that parents, grandparents, still have hope, still pray, and are still active, vocal. Be annoying citizens. Don't just be a good citizen. Be a citizen who annoys the staff at your congressman's office if you don't like the way he's voting. And if your Republican congressman or senator is a rhino, vote for someone else in the primary.
Yeah.
Get him out of there.
Yeah.
We don't need traitors like the ones who kept Obamacare in place, who backtracked on their promises, flipped, and served the Democrats' agenda. And it's too dangerous. We're not in 1960 where the Democrats and Republicans are both patriotic, honest, but they differ on the details of how to run the country. Now, this country is divided the way Spain was divided in the early 1930s, just before it broke out in its civil war. When you see college campuses being flooded by hooded, masked demonstrators silencing conservatives, using flagpoles as weapons, and the police standing by, letting the conservatives get beaten up by these hoodlums, masked like the Klan, these are very, very dark times, and we need to quite literally keep our powder dry.
John, you can call me old-fashioned, you can call me any name that you wish, but I yearn for the old days. I yearn for the covers of the Saturday Evening Post of mom and dad and sister and brother going to church on Sunday morning. I absolutely crave for the pictures on the magazine covers of the family sitting down and praying before a Thanksgiving dinner, or sitting underneath the Christmas tree looking at the nativity scene. I know those are days gone by, but I yearn for those days that they could come back, and we would be a better country for it.
Absolutely. We have to fight right now for the freedom just to do those things. the freedom to persuade people that those things are good, because those freedoms are being taken away from us. The very fact that those things are so good and are naturally appealing to healthy people means that the left has to suppress knowledge of them and poison us against them and demonize them and say that there was nothing good in the past. None of these old values were any good. They were always hypocritical. They were always a veneer for oppression and slavery and hierarchy and discrimination. They have to say that, because otherwise we would choose them because they're natural and they're good.
John, is there any hope? I mean, I don't want to leave this interview without any shades of optimism. What would you say that there is as a bright spot at the end of the tunnel, if there is one?
Well, look at the international reaction over Charlie Gard. Look at the fact of Brexit, that the British voted to get out of that godforsaken European Union. Look at the fact that we just barely elected Donald Trump, and we're standing by him where he's right and criticizing him where he's wrong. He's far from perfect, but just compare him. Imagine what would be happening in America right now if Hillary Clinton had been elected.
Oh, my.
Imagine what lunatics she would have put on the Supreme Court. Imagine the executive orders they would be enforcing to close down Christian colleges, to prosecute religious orders for not handing out abortion pills. I mean, we dodged a bullet. We're stumbling on the edge of a cliff, but at least we dodged that bullet. We can dodge the next one. We have to hold our lawmakers accountable. We have to pray. We have to teach our kids. We basically have to continue resisting what the elites are trying to do to us here in America.
Absolutely. Dr. John Zmirak, a very good friend of this program. Excellent article, Why God, Guns, and Grunt Work Go Together. Socialism Smothers Them All. John, please come back soon. Thank you so much, and God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I will. Bye-bye.
Oh, my, that was an interesting piece and spot on. I really agree with him. I know something else that's spot on. I've got to get a weather forecast in here right now by Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, Don Scarrow and the crew, 324-7657. Oh, my goodness, all the delicious meats. Their retail meat department's second to none. I mean, whatever you're looking for, whether it's the breakfast sausages, the brats, the tri-tip, the prime rib, everything, they've got it all for you at Scarrow's Meats. It is delicious. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It's going to be another warm day today, and expect highs in the 90s throughout the rest of the week. Today we're looking at sunny skies, high of 96. Winds out of the west 5 to 10 miles an hour. Tonight we're expecting clear skies with a low of 58. Tomorrow, sunny skies, high of 95. Looks like 93 for Thursday, the same for Friday. Tonight the sunset's going to be at 8:54 if you'd like to check that out. That is your weather for Zebeth Rand.
Appreciate it, Gina. And again, brought to you by some really good friends of ours and yours. Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. You can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com, or give them a call, 324-7657. Delicious meats. Buy the best. Scarrow's Meats, changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time. It's good. Tomorrow, what have we got cooking? Well, we've got Dave Vigo from Indianapolis, Indiana coming on after our first hour of Open Forum, and then we're loaded with other great guests from around the nation all the way up till 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, so you stay tuned. Want to remind you, too, about our major sponsor. We're blessed. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Absolutely the best in everything they do for you. That's right. 7 locations serving you with the best in all the tires. I mean, tires with all the different tread designs, all the different sizes for the different driving conditions. For your pickup, your SUV, your cars, horse trailers, boat trailers, they have the tires. And they've got the knowledge. They've got all the knowledge about these tires, what it'll do for you, and they are absolutely concerned with your driving safety. So remember the 7 locations. Lane over in Rupert, we've got Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family over in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, our major sponsor. Caller, I've got a minute left. Go ahead real fast.
Thank you for getting that young man on. He was just spot on everything.
Well,
That was awesome.
Thank you. That was very nice of you to call and say that. I appreciate that, because anytime somebody compliments us on our guests, that just gives me a kind of a big old puffed out chest, because we're trying to get the best people on this program.
Well, he was good. And just thank you.
Well, thank you, and God bless you for your call. Thank you so much.
You have a great day.
All right, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to kind of wrap it up and put it back in the box for today. We'll saddle the horse and ride again for 3 hours tomorrow morning, starting at 8:06 right here on KBAR, 12:30 a.m., and then also going all over the world on ZebBell.com. And for our internet audience that is growing in leaps and bounds all over the country, thank you for all your kind thoughts and emails. We really appreciate it. As I said, we got a busy day tomorrow. Be careful out there. There's a lot of activity going on in the valley with all the fairs and all the different activities. Have some fun. And don't forget, we're broadcasting from America, the best country in the world. Zeb at the Ranch until tomorrow morning at 8:06. Wheels, you have a great day. Thank you for all your help. And remember this, we always say this as our tagline at the end: the way things were are the way things ought to be. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06.